PLC-based servo drive Indigo dyeing cum sizing machine. This machine is specially designed for manufacturing dyed beams on slasher sizing principle for indigo colors. We are seeing the creel area, which is having the warper beams of 1400mm diameter and 1600mm working width between the flanges. The warping beams have a number of threads that are combined together for feeding the combined sheets into the pre-wetting tanks. The pre-wetting tanks have tanks for scouring of the grey yarn before slasher dyeing. In this tank, we use wetting agents caustic at maximum 90°C temperature to remove impurities and wax from the yarn for better penetration of dyes in the subsequent process. This is followed by the dyeing tanks in the indigo zone, where up to 8 tanks can be used, each tank having 1500 litre capacity. All the tanks are interconnected at the bottom and also side by side for homogeneous solution of each tank. 2 pumps are provided for circulation of the color, the ideal condition being almost 8 circulations of total bath within an hour. In this, we can also have mercerizing cylinders as a new concept in the denim industry, where total 7 cylinders of 800mm diameter Teflon coated are provided for better fixation of the color after pre-wetting tanks at 70°C. We can use this system. The operative interface shows all the data on the main screen, including the alarms. And the control panel is located near the dyeing cum sizing machine with all the controls. It comprises of the drives for different tanks as well as the PLC for controlling all the drives from a central point as per the requirement. The PLC plays an important role in controlling the tensions of different zones. We come back to the dyeing zone, and this is possible to give temperature so that in each season the temperature of the bath will be maintained equally. We can also use these tanks for sulfur black colors, and temperatures can be raised up to 90°C. The complete tanks are manufactured out of stainless steel sheets of 316 quality, and the drives are individual motors mounted directly on the driving rollers. For the side tank of indigo colors, overhead is provided with hydro feeder with the objective to maintain the concentration of the bath same as far as possible for the caustic liquor. The total section is enclosed for covering the area of drying cylinders on both sides so as to avoid dissipation of heat into the atmosphere. The aeration of the sheets is also there, and the accumulator is provided at the headstock so as to accumulate the excess length of the sheet and release the same at the time of the cutting of the beam at the headstock, since the process of dyeing is required to continue uninterrupted. The centralized control controls this total movement. Hydraulic power pack system is also used. The drive to the cylinder is also through a separate motor and gearbox. All the guide rolls are balanced so as to avoid any jerk to the dyed and sized warp sheets. They rotate freely in the ball bearings. All the motors are mounted directly onto the shafts being driven. In the front, we have moisture indicator cum controller supplied by Mahalo of Germany, which senses the moisture contained in the sized warp sheet with the help of 3 sensing rollers placed across the width of the sheet. The headstock has an operative interface in the front, which not only shows all the operations, but also allows controlling the same from a single point at the headstock. Doffing and donning devices are provided in the headstock, and loading of the empty beam by a hydraulically operated lifting and loading device. The arbor moves in for holding the beam, and the pneumatic beam pressing device is mounted from the backside, which gives a compact beam with the help of a pair of pressure rollers, of which one goes to the left and the other goes to the right, touching the flanges on both sides to give uniform density of the warp sheet across the width of the used beam. The operative interface also shows the position of different scouring tanks, dyeing tanks, drying cylinders, size box, drying cylinders after the size box, position of accumulators as well as the headstock, wherein the drag roll and the weaver's beam are indicated, and all the tensions can be set from the central point. All the data can be fed in the operator interface so as to get the required tension in different zones, and the control panel shows Marlow Moisture Controller. The drives for different tanks are supplied from Lens and the PLC are supplied from B&R, which controls the complete movement of all the motors running at required levels at all the given speeds. The steam connections to separate zones are taken from the main steam line and then bifurcated for different cylinder areas, size boxes, tanks and other places. Automatic dosing system also helps to feed the required liquor, powder, etc. to the various tanks for getting uniform dye pickup to avoid any shade variations. Sophisticated controls provided on the machines are yet so simple to operate and so user-friendly that any person can run the machine without any problem.